What's up, everybody? Welcome to Puzzle Huddle with Experts. We have another fantastic guest. Today we have Constance Stamatiou. She performs with the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater. She's a wife, she's a mom, social media influencer, model, taekwondo training, and she's also launched the modeling careers of her kids. So she's, gosh, so well-rounded and into a lot of different things. So I'm hoping to learn a lot about parenting and child development from her. Welcome, Constance. I'm glad you could join us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
The first thing I would like to know is, as a child, what was your child? I understand you started taking dance lessons pretty early in your life, but before that, what was going on at your house that helped your parents see that maybe dance was appropriate for you?
I think it was the day that my mom was blasting like Janet Jackson on the record player, and I literally physically jumped out of my crib because I was dancing and bouncing so much. And from what I hear, I've always had lots of energy and would just constantly dance down the like grocery store aisles. And thankfully enough, there was a dance studio in the same shopping center that my mom worked at. So it turned out to be convenient. And once she put me into dance, I just soared. I knew I loved to dance.
Tell me that connects, that first dance class enrollment. Was that based on your request or based on your mom's more insistence?
It was more her insistence. Yeah. I don't think I knew really what dance was. I just knew that I was seeing dance on TV and music videos, and I was just constantly moving. And so she just knew. And you know what? My mom at one point, when in her younger years, wanted to dance as well, but couldn't afford that luxury. So I think it was also something that she wanted for herself, but ended up passing it down to me.
And what was going on at this dance school? What kind of dance school was it? What kind of classes? Was it tap? Was it modern? Was it?
It was one of those competitive dance studios where they offered tap, ballet, gymnastics, which, more like acrobats, and jazz. And I took a little bit of everything to start off with. And then eventually, I think me going to the competitions and wearing, all the midriff and stuff, I think my mom wasn't feeling it so much.
Right, because little girls, there's a cuteness to it, but there's also leotards. So it's right, depending on your perspective on it.
After doing the competitive studio for pretty much like 5 years, I think she then started to seek something more conservative. And so then she put me into what is now called Charlotte City Ballet, but back then it was called North Carolina Dance Theater. I remember dragged me to a Nutcracker audition that they were having. And, I was more busy playing outside, so I didn't really want to go. But I'm glad that she dragged me there because I ended up not only getting into the Nutcracker, but the director of the school at the time offered me a scholarship. So that's when I then started training classically and ballet and in point.
Yeah, when did the tipping point come for between your self-motivation and your self-initiative and asking and requesting for class and progression versus, okay, your mom may be saying you're not going to sit around the house and watch TV all day. Come on, where does that begin to turn into your initiative for dance?
I think so. I know I've always loved it and never complained about going. It was just that one instant where I was just having the time of my life outside, and then out of nowhere, and I think it was, and I'm still like this to this day, I like to be planned, have plans. So because she caught me off guard, I think that's why I had an issue with it. But once I was there, I was just in heaven. I was like, oh, I'm dancing. I didn't know what the Nutcracker was, but then I realized that I was dancing. And meanwhile, she didn't even have a ballet slipper, a pair of tights, or a leotard for me for this audition. So they were like scrummaging through like lost and found. And
there's some people, moms and families that kind of have a legacy of this, so they know how to prepare and they have all the things and they have networks. But there are new families that don't know left from right, and they're just wow. Okay, so what is, did you always want to be a dancer? What other things did you consider pursuing professionally?
I think I wanted to pursue everything in the book. Okay. I knew I wanted to be an entertainer from the jump. I just always loved that kind of attention. I was trying to model, trying to be on TV. But of course, at that time, I grew up in Charlotte, North Carolina, those things aren't really accessible to you like it is in a city like New York or in LA. However, my dad constantly reads the newspapers. I swear he could find out anything and everything that was happening. So at times there were a few movies that were being filmed in North Carolina. And there was this one called Shake, Rattle, and Roll, where they were looking for dancers. So he took me, and the audition was at a mall in South Carolina. So I went over there, did a little like Lindy Hop, Grease, whatever I saw on TV, like Grease. And, I was jiving and stuff, and they loved me. So I ended up doing, working as an extra at like the age of 14. But besides, wanting to be in movies, I was also, doing ice skating. At one point, I was like, I'm going to be an Olympic ice skater. And then at one point, I wanted to be an astronaut. And then I also started doing gymnastics. I didn't really know that, I always watched the Olympics, but I didn't know there was a school where I can train in gymnastics like that. With all the apparatuses. I just knew of, like the dance studio type gymnastics. So once I realized that there was a school in North Carolina like that, I was like, Dad, I gotta go. Meanwhile, I guess I'm what you would consider too old to just start gymnastics. I was about maybe 11 then. And, but all I knew is I would always go outside during like recess at school. And, there would be a bunch of boys who are flipping around on the grass. And I'm a very competitive person. And I was like, well, if he can do that, I can do that too. So I pretty much started teaching myself how to do flips. And it got to the point where I taught myself how to do a twist on my own.
On the gravel or hopefully the grass?
Most of the time it was the grass, but I was definitely flipping on concrete, and I think my joints feel it now. But so I went to this gymnastics place. It was called International Gymnastics Center. And even the coach was like, you taught yourself all of this. And I was like, yeah. And so I was starting to tumble and everything. But, I've never been on the uneven bars or a balance beam or a vault. But because I think I was so willing and eager to learn, I caught on very quick. And so there was a moment where I was competing in like their optional team, which is like, you're competing, but you're not quite, ready to go into like the USA Gymnastics Federation or organization and, go through that whole spectrum of competing in all the levels. So then I guess when she realized that I was ready and willing to do that, I think I was competing 3 levels at a time, because you have to go through each one. So I was doing 5, level 6, level 7, all at the same time. And then I competed level 8, and I had the time of my life. And at one point,
where are you at in the birth? Do you have siblings? Was some of this like role modeling what you saw a big brother or sister doing, or was this like purely your blossoming spirit?
I'm like the middle child, to be honest. And I have an older sister. She always I think she wanted to dance too, but she didn't end up pursuing dance. And I have an older brother, and he's very quiet, kind of timid. And then I think I ended up being like an influence for my younger brother, because he ended up doing gymnastics as well, but didn't stick with it for quite as long. But it was
this
really
is just you being you. This is just your own whatever you had, just showing up in the world.
Yes.
All right, that's so awesome. All right. So fast forward. So I want to talk to you about mentorship because I've, based on you telling your story, I've heard you mention that you've had a number of teachers that really took an interest in you and invited you to, higher tiers and higher opportunities. How did you go about finding these mentors, or did they mostly just pick you?
I think for the most part, I was lucky enough that they chose me. Um, I think to begin with, I went to a magnet school program for middle and high school in Charlotte called Northwest School of the Arts. And it was really my ballet teacher by my junior, or no, the beginning of my senior year. She asked the question, Constance, what are you going to do for college? Like, are you planning on going to college for gymnastics? And, and then what are you going to do after college? You're going to coach, and she was like, or, do you think you're going to dance? Because I really do see a bright future in you dancing. And I don't think I ever really thought about like, oh, dance can be like a profession, like you can be in a company. I think I always was just more on the spectrum of like commercial dancing. I can dance in movies, And so that question really struck a chord in me. And I remember that next week is when I told my coach that I was going to stop gymnastics and just focus primarily on dance because I want to go to New York. And New York has always been something on my mind since I was like 9. I was just always like, I'm moving and I'm going to live in New York. And so here is my chance, right? So my teacher, she helped choreograph a solo for me to, go on these college auditions for. And so I ended up going to Suny Perch in White Plains, New York. And then I ended up having a professor there who I think kind of also gravitated towards me. And she asked me, what are you doing for the summer? And I said, well, I'm going to go to Dance Theater of Harlem with my friends, And she was like, I don't think that's for you. She was like, I teach at Alvin Ailey and I teach the Graham program over there. And I think you should check it out. And I was like, okay, I'll go. And when I tell you, like, my life changed that day, I was just in awe of, first of all, not only being at a facility where there were so many dancers like me. I had never seen that, especially not in North Carolina. I was always like the token, Black child.
You walked in it like heaven for dance, probably.
And then also at Suny Perches, there wasn't that many, people of color. So when I went in there and I saw all these beautiful bodies dancing their hearts out, all the, different techniques that they offered. And then I saw that they even have a professional company, like 2 of them.
I'm sure that's like Wakanda for Black dancers.
Exactly.
It'll blow your mind. I bet the different skin tones, the different hair, the different body sizes. I'm sure it's less like
all world, everything.
And it's probably African American, it's regional, it's LA, it's New York, it's
Caribbean, from French Guyana, all over the world. It was nuts. So I called my parents and I said, y'all, I don't think I'm going back to Purchase. I think I want to stay here at Ailey. And they were 100% behind me. But so I'm very grateful to have Stephanie Tuman, my professor from Purchase, become my mentor, because she was in not that they forced her, but she was actually like my counselor, like my guidance counselor in a sense, with leading me to find a career path, whether or not I was going to be a ballet dancer or a modern dancer. And so I'm like forever grateful that she sent me to Ailey. And then once I got to Ailey, I think Troy Powell took me under his arm. He was the assistant director at the time of Ailey too. And he's the one who kind of put it in my ear, like, I think are you going back to Purchase? Because I could really see you here at Ailey. Like you just, you have that,
Yeah.
style in you. And I was like, really? So that even gassed me up more. So I'm like, okay, I really got to come here, to study.
Yeah. What do you think along the way? There are lots of parents that have their kids in dance, and some kids will have a career in it. More of them will not. How do you start to discern? Okay, this kid's got something. We should keep investing, keep sacrificing, keep focusing. Versus, we need to get you in science camp, kid. Or something else. This may not be the. How do you start to tell in a kid's development?
But it's extremely hard, I think, because even if you're seeing your kids struggling with, let's say, dance, and you're just like, oh, I just don't know if this is for you. I've seen people, and even when they are grown, I'm talking about like 20s, I've seen the moment where it's like they just came in one day and just flourished almost like overnight. I've seen that happen where it was like, I really didn't think you had it. And then out of nowhere it came. And I just think it's really about the person's dedication and passion. If that's something that's truly in their heart, I think you should be behind them 100%. However, I do think education is just as important, because it's always good to have a backup plan, right?
Yeah.
And I think something I'm dealing with my own kids, I think that's why we're so busy. It's because I'm trying to give them the space to learn and do as much as they can, because I don't know yet what their thing is. So I'm trying to let them find that for themselves. And I'm sure, like, I know there's a lot of things that they're good at, but I still don't know yet what it is that they're truly passionate about, that they have to have and do every single day.
Yeah, that's the fun parenthood journey. It's just every day or every week you kind of assess and check in and evaluate, and you hopefully listen to your kids and encourage them, and it ebbs and flows, and hopefully they find something that they can do and provide for themselves. Tell me this: you mentioned that an aspiration to go to New York. What were the influences in your younger, like how did you become aware of a New York from where you were from to even have that aspiration?
Well, at one point, my dad, he lived in New York for some time. And then, I was always constantly watching, movies that had New York in them, in it, or, like off Broadway shows and stuff. And I just knew all of that happened in New York City. And I think I just, what is the saying they would say? If you can make it, not if you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere. But basically it was something about, all the opportunities, of becoming a star or whatnot happened in New York. So it's just, I don't know, it was just something that I must have watched as a child that drew me into New York. I just knew that is where I needed to be, especially if I wanted to be a professional dancer.
Yeah, help me out in terms of foundation. I consider myself to be a fan of the arts. I don't know if I'm like a level 1 or a level 10. I don't know, but if a person basic dance acumen, if you are interested in culture and dance, you should definitely know Alvin Ailey. You should certainly know Dance Theater of Harlem. If you got to know Judith Jamison, and what are some other like key things that, like, if we were to all just have a basic acumen of dance in the dance industry, what should all of us know, like walking around? What names and institutions should we all be from? We all know Misty Copeland, but what else is in that bucket of things we should all know?
Well, one of my favorite quotes, first of all, that Mr. Ailey said is that dance came from the people and should always be given back to the people. And so dance came from, the people of Africa, right? So I feel like that is kind of our baseline right there. And so a lot of Ailey's movement comes from Africans. I think his first, so Mr. Ailey, we all know, he started the first company for Black and Brown people during the Civil Rights era.
Okay.
But his journey led him to doing that was when he moved to Los Angeles and met the legendary Carmen de Lavalade. So she's like the number one factor.
We should all know Carmen.
Yes, we should all know Carmen, who is married to the late Jeffrey Holder, who also used to be a part of Ailey, and he was also the driver in the movie Annie. He's done a lot of stuff. Yes. And so anyway, it was Carmen who led Alvin to study dance because he was once a gymnast, and he started studying Lester Horton, who was a huge influence. But it was when he went on a school field trip, he saw Monte Carlo Ballet, right? But he didn't see anybody that looked like him, but he just saw, oh, this is dance. It's beautiful. But it was when he saw, here we go, Catherine Dunham, which is a part of the Catherine Dunham technique. He saw himself on that stage, and he saw his people being dignified on stage. So that is when he got in the recollection that he can start his own company full of Black and brown people and, you know, travel. And then he got the notion that I can travel all over the world. And it just started with this one performance at the New York YMCA on 92nd Street. And it did amazing. So that's when they were allotted to travel all over the world, and the people received them graciously. So definitely Catherine Dunham and Carmen de Lavalade are, you know, two people you must know. And then of course his muse, Judith Jamison, who is joining the company. I think for people, I would say in this day and age to know, and we don't have a lot of women choreographers like that, but Camille Brown. Camille, I remember when I was in Ailey too, she was just, I think, dancing with Evidence, which is Ronald K. Brown's company. He's another good person to know. She just had finished dancing with him professionally, and she started choreographing, and she choreographed on Ailey too, and then she started choreographing on Alvin Ailey, and she's choreographing all over the world. She has her own company now. She's been choreographing a lot of Broadway shows, a lot of movies. And then another young man named Kyle Abraham, who has his own company, AIM. And I think they're very important and essential dance makers in this generation.
Yeah, what is your favorite dance to perform? Like, what is like when you get the chance to do this one, like this gonna be like, I love this. I'm sure you love a lot of them. So like the one that gets you like, I get to do my jam today. Which one is your?
You know what? That's hard. But I will have to say Mr. Ailey's masterpiece, Cry, which is
that's the one with the blanket.
It's a cloth.
A cloth.
And it does. It represents it represents a body, like a dead body, right? So I think I think I treat it like therapy in a sense, because first of all, there's so much honor in doing that piece, because he choreographed that on Judith Jamison, which pretty much catapulted her dance career. It is a piece that he choreographed as a birthday gift to his mom, because back then he was not allowed to go into like Tiffany's and, you know, Bloomingdale's to buy a gift. So he thought, what great gift can I give my mom? And so this was a gift that he ended up dedicating to Black women everywhere, especially our mothers. It's very heavy. It's a long 16-minute piece that, you know, it's a solo. You do not get to get off stage. There is not a moment of rest, and it builds. So
when you open that blanket, it's like intense. Just like the opening of it, and then it's like a basic. I'm not doing a good job showing you, but you know what it is.
Yes,
it's like really heavy.
Your heaviest loads, you know, not even just yours, but of your ancestors, the people that came before you. You know, it is that load that you are carrying, and in a sense, it's rewarding to perform, but it takes a lot of preparation, because not only am I, rehearsing it over and over because I have to make sure my stamina is where it needs to be in order to perform that 16-minute solo. But I also have to make sure that my mind is okay, because in order to make that solo do it justice, you need to go to a place and you need to be able to go into real experiences in order to, take the audience on that journey with you. And so I look at it as therapy. I have to, meditate before I do it. Say
Yeah,
a
you
little
do.
prayer before I do it, because it's very tough. But at the end, you're, showing your strength. You're shouting with joy because you've overcome, and not even that you necessarily overcome, but you know that whenever there's a next challenge that presents your way, you're going to, rise above, and you're going to continue to push and fight.
When I think about Ailey, the opening of a lot of these pieces is just like when I think of Revelations, and I don't know the technical term, but that formation that's like a phoenix or something, an eagle, that there's no more iconic of a picture than that.
Right?
How
Yeah.
do you get yourself ready to do that? And does it feel when you're doing it as intense as we're observing it to be?
Absolutely. I would say it's just as intense. And because it becomes even more intense because we do it so often and so repetitively, you have to, as a professional dancer, find what you can bring to it. Okay, so yes, it's like a prayer, right? It's I've been buked, is the dance. And you have to find, I think personally, I look for, where am I at today, and let me put that into this dance today, because tomorrow I may feel something different, or the day before, but I can't keep approaching that dance the same way. It has to have more, otherwise it gets very, bland, right?
Yeah, it's definitely much. It comes off very mature. I don't know if age has anything to do with performing it, but the experience of watching it is very mature.
Yes. Well, I would say you have some mature dancers and you also have some very young ones, but you have to be mature enough to, bring some kind of essence to it.
All right. So let me talk myself out of such serious emotional topic. If you were teaching a kindergarten dance class, like if you opened the Constance Stamatiou Dance Academy, like what do kindergartners and first graders, what do you teach them to set the foundation for dance?
I think, well, first of all, with starting off that young, I would want it to be more of open movement where it's more like play, the freedom to create. And I think that's the hardest thing, is starting them that young with building up the confidence to be able to create, because I see it oftentimes as we get older, we are so used to being told what to do, so we need people to tell us what to do in order to move. Whereas if we're more free to create, I think we get more of a better sense of our body, how it moves, how to control it. I also highly believe that ballet is also a huge, like, number one basic training that you need, especially if you're going to become a professional dancer. And I think a lot of folks don't realize, with the Ailey company, we train in ballet every single day. That's our company class. Ailey is known to be a diverse company, and yes, you should constantly allow yourself to grow and become diverse, but we have to know all the techniques. Okay. If you're going to be asked to put on a ballet shoe, or you may be asked to put on a point shoe, we have pieces where we perform in point shoes. We have pieces where we got to put on a sneaker and do some house, some hip hop. We have pieces where we need to be barefoot and be able to envelope and, do African steps. We have pieces where you may need to put on a tap shoe. We have to be skilled in all styles of dance. And I think that's extremely important. But most of all, it is ballet. for us. So
You know
when you
what? The other thing I love about Ailey really stretched my interest in music. Fix Me Jesus otherwise would not be something that I would have ever cared to hear or listen. But it became one of my favorite songs. Because it makes you cry, and I don't know why. Yeah. I don't know why that appeals to me, but it does. What about that? The musical acumen. What plays on the radio at your house?
I feel like we play a little bit of everything. I mean, even I grew up in a house where I was hearing all kinds of music. You know, I was hearing doo-wop. I was hearing, 80s music, 90s music, hip hop, R&B. I was also hearing rock. I was also hearing, like, my dad loved to play world music. So I was hearing music from Africa. I was hearing Greek music. I was hearing all kinds of music. So I think that also led to me just enjoying dance more, especially the different styles of dance and hearing different music. And I think the same was with Mr. Ailey. Like, he really choreographed to his experiences. He calls them his blood memories. And so I think that's why him growing up in an era of where he was helping his mom picking cotton off the cotton fields, and seeing, because he was born in Rogers, Texas, so he would see the Ku Klux Klan going through the forest and stuff like that. So a lot of his music is Negro spirituals. Yeah. He did a lot of works to Duke Ellington's music. He was a very musical guy.
We mentioned earlier some of the like iconic names in dance that we should all know. What are some iconic pieces? So we've now talked about Revelation and Cry, but what are some other, whether it's contained in Ailey or outside of Ailey, what are some dance choreography or pieces that, if you say a little dance, you should know these as?
Obviously for ballet companies, it's the Nutcracker.
Okay, got to know that Nutcracker.
Firebird, Swan Lake, for Ailey, his first masterpiece, even before Revelations, was Blue Suite. And, that was about like his aunties and uncles and people in the neighborhood that he would see. They would come dressed up in their best to go to the club, and, they would drink their sorrows away and talk about the blues, and then put on their Sunday dress for, to go to church on Sunday. Let's see, another piece we always do, I think this is a very iconic piece. Mr. Ailey had a dear friend that passed away, and he choreographed a masterpiece called Memoria, and it was to honor her life. She was also a dancer. And so that piece is a huge staple in the Ailey organization, because that's the first time you see the organization in its entirety come together. So you have Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater on stage. You also have Ailey 2 on stage. And then you also have some students from the Ailey School on stage, all performing at once. And it's really beautiful. So that's another masterpiece. Another one of now my favorites. It may not be something everyone would know, but he choreographed a piece about apartheid in Africa, and it's called Masekela Langage, and it's to the music of Masekela, and I just think it's just amazing.
Tell me, I want to ask you a little bit about your children. How do your children experience your career? Are they, behind the stage with you, behind the curtain? Are they in the dressing room? How do your children get a chance to participate in this awesome career that you have?
Pre-pandemic, it was amazing. My kids were always around. Sometimes they'd be in the dance studio, especially when they were younger, before, in school. And the best was seeing them obviously in the dressing rooms. My daughter would, sometimes play in others' makeup and do their face, and, seeing them backstage, like in the green room where they get to, especially my son, wrestle with some of the dancers and, play with like a lot of the physical therapy balls and tools and bites, trying to exercise, and seeing them watch from the side of the stage. And sometimes you worry, okay, don't get too close to the stage because you almost look like you want to go out because you're feeling it so much. But unfortunately, because of the pandemic, we have really strict rules. And so like they're not able, or any guests are not able to come into the studios with us. We have to even have our mask on when rehearsing. They're not able to go to the theaters unless they're watching from the front of the house. And, even with that, you have to be fully vaccinated. So, I mean, I've enjoyed that they were able to see me like this season performing, because it's been so long. We hadn't performed in like almost like 2 years. But it's been great, because I know it's cultivating something in them, especially not only seeing like, oh yeah, mommy and her friends are dancing, but they're also being able to see what goes on behind the scenes. So sometimes they're in the wardrobe helping out, with hanging stuff, hanging costumes, or, they're also seeing stage management calling cues for the lights and that whole behind the scenes. So they see that there's a lot more jobs going on besides just the dancers.
Gosh, the instruments, the production, the costumes, the makeup, the everything. And then this, what you mentioned before, this authority to create with your body and not be so, rule bound by, context and just be it movement and the permission to move. I'm sure they get plenty of inspiration in that. Mm-hmm. How did you identify in them? Because you've done a wonderful job planting the seeds for modeling and being, picturesque. How did you identify that interest and connect your kids to, because all kids don't love to pose and have their picture taken. Some kids are, I don't want to take a picture. No, thank you. Leave me alone. But some kids are into it.
Yeah, I think because they grew up seeing me do that, like seeing me at photo shoots for not only Ailey, but for, other magazines or, companies. I think it just came natural to them. It was a sense of, oh, well, that's what my mommy does. I can do that too. But I also think that's just their spirit. Like they have so much love and they have so much confidence that I definitely feel like I did not have at their age. And so like, I want to honor that and lift that and let that continue to grow and fester. And, I guess because I had them posing at such a young age, I guess they just thought, why not? I can do it. My daughter has so much sass and, it came natural to them. I think if they would have shied away from it or shown like, oh, I'm not feeling this, I wouldn't have, forced them or continue to reach out for agents, to help them land these jobs. I would have, let them find what it is they truly desire, but they seem to love it.
Is it like, I asked you about the songs you play at your house, but is it like nonstop dance at your house? Like is every evening like just dance party because that's
no. When I come home and I don't have to work, I'm not dancing. I'm saving. I mean, every once in a while we will. There's definitely videos on my social media and out there where you will definitely see me and my kids having dance parties. And it's not even, we even put on performances, especially like when I moved into this house and we had no furniture. We took advantage of using the living room as a dance studio. And I would just play on any kind of music. At one point, we were dancing like we were B-boys. And then at one point, I had on some classical music. And my son, he just wanted to be lifted all the time. So I would lift him.
Of course.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess we do. I guess I just think we don't do it as often. But,
And you now I know your husband knows how to find a weight room because your husband's a very big guy. But what is his connection to dance, or is he just kind of sit as a facilitator, all this stuff, but not necessarily a dance participant?
Oh, he thinks he's a dance extraordinaire now. I guess seeing me dance for so long and being a dance dad, and taking the kids to dance class. I think he thinks he's a dancer by association.
Yeah.
Uh,
I'm sure
but
he's getting
for
some of it. He's getting a little bit of it. Has to be.
yeah, when I first met him, he didn't know anything really about dance. I mean, he's Colombian, so he knows, about music and
Yeah,
about
yeah.
that kind of dancing, but nothing classical. But he loves to support the dancers at Ailey, loves to come to see the performances. He admires the strength and the athleticism that we are.
All right, and I hope this. I'm going to try to make this the last thing that I ask you. So, when you're not dancing, you have so many other things that you do. I probably created a micro list of all the things. From your social media, I can tell that you're taking Taekwondo lessons and you're taking them seriously. What other things besides perform with Ailey are you into and being a mom and then being a wife? What other hobbies and interests do you have that you actively pursue?
I just like being active. I enjoy just hiking, being outdoors, hanging out at the beach. I like to surf. I like to, besides Taekwondo, I also love boxing. I constantly go with my husband to do his Stice Life classes, so I can build up my endurance and stamina. So I'm constantly at the gym if I'm not at the dance studio. And, I like to sometimes hop on my kid's skateboard. We have a trampoline, I still flip around here and there.
Okay, because you have some training a little bit.
So I like being active and just having fun. And I feel like the more I'm busy, the happier I am. Yeah, because you just don't know what can lead to the next. And in my mind, I'm trying to be a ninja, and he's maybe Holly Berry or somebody's, body double, and being casted in a Marvel or the next Black Panther or something.
Yeah, well, you have the personality and the disposition and the movement skill sets, and right. If you made one thing work, I'm sure you can make some of these other things work as well.
Yeah, that's what I would.
This has been absolutely wonderful. I want to be respectful of your time, so I'm not going to hold you all day. But thank you so much. I'm going to Google all of those names that you gave me. So when I tell people that I'm into the arts, I can actually back that up with, I know the key things. Thank you.
Yeah.
So thank you, and thank you so much for your support of my company. I don't know how we found each other. You found me, or I don't remember.
Guys.
Yeah, but we sent you a puzzle that had to be near the beginning of our life as a company.
Yeah.
So it's been like 4 years of social media, likes and connections. So thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate speaking with you all.
All right. And please, everyone, like this video, subscribe to our channel so you can see all of our upcoming videos. This has been Constance Stamatiou. Thank you so much.
Thank you.